Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am broadcasting from lovely Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is a mite bit chilly today. It's been overcast and cloudy, and it didn't rain, although we were thinking it was going to rain any minute, but it didn't. And I have many flowers blooming in my garden, and if you are on Instagram and you're checking my Instagram, you'll see I've got all sorts of beautiful flowers coming in. So that is a lovely thing for this time of year. And today is Sunday, the 26th of September in the year 2021. And this is our last Sunday in September because the next time we meet, it will be October 3rd because Friday is October 1st. Can you believe it? It's October. I cannot. Another year is coming and going very quickly. And I have said this before and I will say it again. This year was harder than last year. This year has been harder than last year. And I really do believe that it was, obviously the world is in a complicated place last year, this year, and it doesn't look like it's shifting into a less complicated place, shall we say. But I do think that one of the things that was simpler about last year is that we were just told to just go stay in, just go home, stay in, and just go there. And as I said, and as you've heard me say, it was a time to go within. And, for me, it's always a time to go within. There's always a time. But that was particularly a time to go within. However, this year, again, squares are different than conjunctions, and the Saturn-Uranus square that we have been enduring all year is really quite the challenge and the navigation in a way that we are not accustomed to. From last year, everything was conjunctions. And so here we are, and we are in a place of, where we're going to have October be the turning point month. And so now we're poised to go forward in a way that we have not so far this year. I think this is going to be the culmination of all the work that we have done this year is going to come in October. So this is very important. So here it is, the night that Mercury retrogrades. And if you live in Costa Rica like I do, Mercury will retrograde at 11:10 p.m. and that will be 1:10 a.m. Monday morning. But Mercury's stationing and about to retrograde. And it's a very powerful time. When Mercury stops in the sky, as it has, and it's at 25 degrees of Libra, it has stopped. It's stopping and it's not moving. So, it's not like it is retrograde. If you get things in under the wire and stuff, it can be very powerful. I made some announcements about my new Reiki today on Instagram and stuff. And interestingly enough, I was very busy on Instagram today, which Sunday's not a big day there. So, but there'll be more announcements about that to come. So it's really stopped in the sky. So now in the last few days, as you know, and as we have spoken of, Mercury was making the square to Pluto on Wednesday the 22nd. And that was the first square to Pluto. And as I told you, as you know, this is one big long square. This is Mercury's moment to talk to Pluto in very profound ways, in very intense ways, in very deep ways. And I also talked about this last week on the podcast and also on Instagram during the week. And it is a completely profound place for Mercury to be, because Mercury is not moving very much at all, and it slowed down to a crawl. It squared Pluto. It's still crawling along, and then tonight it will stop and turn around, and then we can expect another square to Pluto very much on the 1st of October, and that's going to occur like sunrise time, and or breakfast time. And it's really something that's profound because Mercury is going to go forward eventually on the 18th of October and square Pluto again in November, but not for a while. Right now we have to focus on the fact that it's squaring Pluto and what does it mean and what do we need to do and how do we work with this energy? Well, we work with this energy by, connecting with the deepest part of ourselves that has a message for us. And did you receive a message this week? And are you getting messages? And they may be messages of, look, you need to do this, or wow, I had an epiphany, or hey, I've got to shift something, I've got to change something. And Pluto is, of course, the planet of transformation. And when Mercury gets involved with Pluto, it allows us to change our thoughts and connect with thoughts that need to be changed and reach out to others that we need to talk to or we want to connect with. And if you have planets at the end of cardinal signs, then this is profound for you. Like I know people who have planets at, around 24, 25, Cancer and Aries. And if you've got planets there, it's going to get affected. It's going to get wrapped up in a T-square with Mercury and Pluto. Now, the other day, the moon was in Aries at like 24 degrees. And that meant there was a T-square with Mercury and Pluto. And if you have a planet there, you're going to get involved with Mercury and Pluto. And it's there for all of us, but, it affects us in unknown ways. Now, here's another little trick in astrology. There's an aspect called a semi-square, and it works, it's a 45-degree angle, and it's like a half a square, So if you've got something at around, 9, 10 degrees of mutable, then you are going to be affected by Mercury and Pluto in a very subtle but it's like the velvet hammer. It's like, boom. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. What is that? Well, yeah, that's Mercury and Pluto working along with your planets that you have in mutable signs at 9 or 10 degrees. Now, I happen to have a T-square at those degrees, so I know exactly what it feels like. And maybe you got some unexpected information this week. Maybe you got messages. We all got messages this week. I got a lot of messages in this past week, and I have a feeling for all of us, the messages are going to continue to come of the same theme. So, mutable, when I talk of mutable, I mean Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo. So if you have something around 9 or 10 degrees of those signs, you are getting this Mercury-Pluto head on in some ways, okay? And if you have planets at like 25 Aries, 24 Aries, 24 Cancer, 25 Cancer, you're going to get Mercury and Pluto very directly. It is complicated, to have such a long, deep, intense conversation between these two planets. And it is a conversation, and it can be a very verbal conversation because Mercury is in an air sign, Libra, and it is discussing things with the Lord of the Underworld. And of course, let's face it, if you have planets in Libra at those degrees and Capricorn, yes, you're going to feel this too. So this is a profound experience of Mercury and Pluto. And what messages did you get this week? Did you get messages about, look, baby, you got to get your act together, or you have to change something, or you have to use your thoughts in a constructive and powerful way? A powerful way. Yeah. So, use your thoughts to help yourself powerfully, not to be critical of yourself, not to chide yourself, not to, say, oh, damn it, I did it again. No. We're not using that. We are taking this onward and upward. Even though Mercury is going backwards, it's giving us the opportunity to review and reveal, and the truth comes out when Mercury's retrograde. So it's like, oh, okay, I get it. A lot of truths, I think, started to come forward this week, and some of them were hard-hitting, I think. And if you had some energy that has been hard hitting this week, well then truths are that you are just right where you should be and pay attention to the messages you received. I don't think we all got sunny messages this week. I think there were complicated information pieces flying around. And, complicated and then compounded by the Venus opposite Uranus on Thursday, which was still hanging in the air on Friday because of the moon going over Uranus. So just sort of emphatically making that point. And a lot of things came to light and a lot of things came out of nowhere because that's what Uranus does. Things come out of nowhere, and we may feel like we're not in a place where we can acknowledge and process all the pieces of information we get. But I guarantee you they're connected. I guarantee you that whatever you learned under Venus-Uranus is similar to the information or connected to the information that you learned under Mercury-Pluto, okay? And you're going to learn more about this while Mercury turns retrograde. And it is certainly a time to get, creative for sure, but also really get deep with your understanding of things, okay? So if you got information that was revealing something to you, then you need to sit down with that information and come back over these next 3 weeks and review and revise it and do something about it. Take some action with it, okay? This isn't just flying in front, oh, well, look at that. Oh, how about that? No. Whatever you were learning this week, it's all a part of a big puzzle. Venus opposite Uranus, Mercury squaring Pluto. These are hard aspects to outer planets from inner planets. Mars and Saturn had a nice chat yesterday, but it was a nice chat, because they're in air signs. They're chatting nicely, thankfully. But one of the most important things is that you recognize and connect to whatever you were being told. You might have been told something and you're like, I don't know what that's about. Well, you got to really kind of look at what was flying in the air in your life this week. So what might have come out of nowhere? What did you get on, Thursday and Friday and, today that could have been important, that has to do with what happened earlier in the week. So like when Mercury and Pluto were squaring, something else happened when Venus and Uranus were opposing. All of this is connected. All of it. It's all deeply, profoundly wrapped up in each other. And it's a big puzzle for each of us to figure it out. I understand what I've got to deal with and what I haven't, been willing to deal with or thought was okay and is not as necessarily as okay. But I learned a whole lot of things on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and Friday. And, Monday too. Every day this week there was something. And there was something. And I had to acknowledge stuff that was all profoundly connected. It's deep. It's the thing you have been dealing with all year. Okay? So when you deal with the unconscious stuff that Uranus is bringing forth, and Pluto is bringing forth, you start to piece together the puzzle. Now, Saturn and Uranus have been squaring all year, as I mentioned a minute ago, and I've been talking about for months. They have presented a picture, and you are in the middle of this picture trying to navigate something old and something new. And something old needs to go, and something new needs to take its place, and something new really does reflect a newer you. Everybody's changed because of last year and this year. Everybody has had a major change. So we have to acknowledge the change and not stay stuck in the old paradigm. Because if you're staying stuck in the old paradigm, you're not listening to Uranus, you're listening to Saturn, and then you got whacked in the last week. Okay? There's a part of you that is insecure, because that's what Saturn does. It brings up our insecurities. And Uranus says, drop it, baby, and run. Just keep going. You've got to transcend this. So this has been an interesting dynamic this week. Now, as Mercury retrogrades, we're going to go into this coming week, and some of the aspects that are happening are going to review and revise that Mercury with us. So on Friday, the 1st of October, Mercury will square Pluto again. Like I said, it's sunrise, breakfast time, wherever you are in this region of the world. And you are going to feel the experience of what it means to have the second layer of information come to you, okay? So some of us started to work with and study these things early in the year and realized that the Uranus-Saturn was giving us the overall big message of the year. And these little guys that show up, Mercury, Pluto, that are just like a brief period of time. They're not all year. They're for a few weeks or a week or whatever. Then they carry the story along. So whatever's carrying the story along for you is, the next layer has appeared. So now, if you're paying attention, and I can guarantee you this, we're all paying attention. We all know what it is. We all know we're done with something, but we are not ready to completely release the Saturnian part of this, because that won't come till the end of the year, December 24th. And so we're prepping ourselves to release the Saturnian part of this. But what you might have realized, and what I came to, was the results of not listening enough to Uranus, the results of where you feel stuck. So this past week, I think you and I have all, it's been revealed to us where we might be stuck, where the energies might be stuck. And it could very well be in your body. Your body might be talking to you in a certain way. And this is showing you where you need to move forward, grab the bull by the horns, and go forward. And no pun intended with Uranus and Taurus, but go forward, And Uranus and Taurus is like bull riding. Do you ever watch bull riding shows? I would pass them occasionally back in New York when I had cable, and it's a very foreign thing for a New Yorker to watch a bull riding show, but it's crazy. It's like somebody jumps on a bull, and the bull does not want this. And it's like bucking and bucking and bucking. And it's behaving in a crazy manner. And it's like, what is this? Get off me. And how long can the guy stay on the bull before the bull throws him to the ground? That's Uranus and Taurus. It's bull riding. And if you live in certain areas of the country where bull riding is common or popular sport, it's you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you're trying to, Saturn's the one that's trying to tame the bull. The bull doesn't want to know. What the hell is this? Bucking and bucking and bucking, right? I had a conversation many years ago with a couple of people about bull riding, and this one older man said, "Oh, bull riding is one of my favorite sports." And the woman that was sitting there, not related to the man, she was like, "I was really hoping one of my daughters does not marry a bull rider." She was from Texas. She was like, "I hope one of my daughters doesn't marry a bull rider, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's probably exhilarating for the person who wants to do it." Yeah, I'm a bull rider. Well, we're all bull riders right now. And, the bull wants to go in the pasture and hang out with the girls, the cows, and be happy, and he doesn't want to be bothered. Taurus is a slow, patient sign. It's methodical. But boy, if you're going to push it around, it's going to get angry. It's going to get angry. like anybody else. So, you know, it's really I have to laugh every time I have that image of like people like jumping on but they come out of the pen and the person is like trying to stay on this animal and the animal doesn't. It's like I can imagine what iguana riding must be like. That's what would happen here. It's like, remember Steve Irwin? Remember when he would like go after crocodiles and like pick them up and like move them and like get them, it's like crocodiles don't want to know either. They're like, who is this guy? This is everybody else runs from a crocodile. He was one of those people that ran towards them and the crocodile was actually, wow, who's this? The crocodile's running away from a person instead of the opposite, So here we are trying to grab a hold of a wild animal. That would be the Uranian energy. And Saturn is trying to tame this. And Uranus says, I don't think so. I don't think so. So yeah. So here's Saturn. And we're trying to cling to what's familiar and old and structured and has lived its life. When Uranus comes along and squares, gets a square from Saturn, they're duking it out. And so this week we are absolutely feeling that because, Venus made her square to Saturn and then she moved along and opposed Uranus. So the week before she squared Saturn. And then this past week, a few days later, she opposed Uranus. So she got right in there. And it could very well be that they have, they definitely have something to do with each other too. What happened the week before and then happened the week after? There's something connected there too. And so, this is something profound. I mean, you may have had to let go of something this week. You may have had to let go of someone this week. You may have had to resign yourself to understanding something that is going on that is complicated in your life because it's a big story. There's a big story of letting go. All of us are done with something. All of us have had it with something or someone. And, if you've had it with someone, you can bet that they've had it with somebody else, and that person's had it with somebody else or something else. And so it's not something that's been smooth riding, back to our bull riding analogy, and it's not something that is, been, comfortable. It's been uncomfortable for months, but also I think that each week has its own challenges and there have been many, and it's not been an easy time. I mean, last year we waited it out. This year we've grown and we've changed and we've moved to a different consciousness. And we can't go back. Things aren't going back to the way they were. They're never going to go back to the way we were. And because of that, we have to let go of something and someone. And because of that, we didn't really maybe plan on that. We just thought we were going to, last year we were kind of a holding pattern. This is the aftermath of that. And it's unfortunate that, that we want to resist because in some ways our freedom is right here and extremely important to us. So our freedom is very, very palpable in all of this. And that's Uranus. So what other juicy things we have to look forward to this week is that Mars, the planet of aggression, assertion, and pushiness, and confidence, and courage, is going to oppose Chiron on Friday. And so, any sort of weakness Chiron brings, any sort of maybe woundedness, Mars is gonna oppose that. And Mars is going to say, come on, stand up. You're going to get real, real courage from facing your wound. And that's what we have to do is get some courage. Remember, Chiron is in Mars's sign. So Mars is not in its own sign, it's in Libra, and we're going to be like, oh God, do I have to confront this? And it's like, yeah, well, we're gonna figure this out. That's what this is about. We're gonna figure this out. So, that's one of the things we need to look at. That's one thing. The other thing is that Venus is going to square Jupiter on Thursday. And you're like, hey, Venus and Jupiter, yeah. And that's going to be like early evening in my region of the world. And, that's the good stuff. I mean, yes, it's a square, but it's Venus and Jupiter. So, that's when we get to dress a little tacky. So bring out all your tacky clothes and like celebrate on Thursday your brightly colored unmatched stuff. Be a little garish and gaudy on Thursday. Be bold. And Venus square Jupiter is telling us to be bold. That's good. Be bold. Venus is in Scorpio, Jupiter's in Aquarius. I think this is a great time to, Mars is the planet of confidence, and it's like staring at Chiron, right, this week. So that's like, it's not at its most, it's at its boldest, right? It's in Libra, very polite. Venus, meantime, remember, they're in mutual reception. Venus is in Mars's sign. Mars is in Venus's sign. Yes, Mars rules Aries, but it used to rule Scorpio. So there's this dynamic going on. So where Mars might not feel the confidence and boldness, Venus can do that for us this week. So, especially if you're a woman, you can take out your wildest outfit on Thursday and put it on and get a little crazy with your clothes or your self-expression. Everyone and anyone, we all have self-expression. So, one of the things we want to do is express ourselves in a way that is going to give us some sense of confidence and power and uniqueness. And that helps us get through the Mars opposite Chiron. So they're connected. One day they're happening at the same time, technically, they're only about, maybe 14 hours apart. And then Mercury's going to square Pluto on the same day as Friday. So, what we need to deal with and what we need to do is get our groove on. With the Venus Jupiter, yeah, it's not a trine because trines don't make you do anything. They provide you with opportunities. It's like, ooh, this is the opportunity to buy something pretty, and whether it's a Maserati or it's a new handbag, no matter who you are, it's an opportunity to spend some money. Venus Jupiter square it's going to make you do something. Okay, squares cause action. Oppositions cause action. That's why Mercury and Pluto are so important, because we are going to take action with our thoughts and our minds. I'm not going to sit with this information and just roll over and go back to sleep. I'm going to take this information and change my thoughts around it. This reveals to me how I have been using my thoughts, and maybe not to my best advantage, or maybe there's a healing crisis in all of this, Mars opposite Chiron. And healing crisis does not have to happen on a physical level. It could happen on a very mental, emotional level. Like, wow, I wasn't really paying attention to this part of this conversation, this dialogue that I've been having with myself all year. So part of the dialogue that you've been having with yourself all year about staying behind or going forward, the place where you're done, I can guarantee you in the last week and in the coming week, you got some information, and it's a manifestation of what you need to do to step forward into your power and leave the past behind and take a risk, because otherwise you're not going to like what happens if you don't. Okay? If you're bold and you're going to take that step forward, and Venus Jupiter says, be bold, be daring, go do it. Well then, yeah, go ahead, be bold, be daring, go do it, because it's the only way you're going to get through this, okay? So you got to get on the bull and ride it until it throws you off, and hang on for dear life. and be bold and take that risk and dig your feet in and get juicy with it. Venus Jupiter is a little juicy. It can be sexy. Venus is in Scorpio. But you might have to take a step. You may have to take an initiation. You may have to, and I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to go get rejected or something. Whatever you've found out about last week that may have been, or you're discovering about yourself in the last week, you got to go, okay, you know what? It's time for me to shed where I may have my insecurities, my anxieties, and my fears, Saturn, and take that Uranian step forward. Now, this is all this coming week, and I suggest you heed my advice, because then the Sun is going to oppose Chiron the next time we meet, next Sunday, and Mercury is going to trine Jupiter next Sunday. And so when we meet again on the 3rd of October, we'll be talking about the Sun opposing Chiron and Mercury trining Jupiter, meaning that there's going to be some good that comes out of this, but you have to take the steps, because when the Sun opposes Chiron, it should shine a light on any wounds or healing crisis that you might be feeling in your life. Okay? And I really highly, highly, highly recommend that you put yourself in a state of forward motion mentally, even though Mercury is going retrograde, and we're rethinking and we're reviewing. You got to say, when I say forward motion, I don't mean okay, we're going to go forward because Mercury's retrograde. What I mean is you take the steps that are necessary during this Mercury retrograde to review things and where you can go forward and get your game on and get ready, because we have 4 planets going direct in October within 10 days of each other, and we're 12 days of each other. And what's going to happen is that you are going to get, we're getting a new moon the day that Pluto goes direct. And we're going to talk about that next week because it happens the following Wednesday, the 6th. Okay? And we're going to get, Saturn going direct on the 10th. And then we're going to get Jupiter going direct on the 17th. And depending on where you live, Mercury will go direct on the 18th, or if, you live someplace else, Mercury and Jupiter are going to go direct the same day on the 18th. So what I want you to focus on this week is how you can use this Mercury retrograde to prepare yourself, get your ducks in a row to take that risk forward. You will know what this risk is that you need to take based on the information that you got in the last week, based on where the universe said to you, you know what, you're falling behind on this risk, and where you're scared and where you're insecure is producing these results. See these results? That's from being scared. That's from being insecure. That's from not wanting to take the risk. Okay, so now you have that information. You got that in the past week. Now Mercury's going retrograde, and you're going to sit down with that information. You say, okay, where am I going to revise? Where am I going to review? Where can I prep myself with the information that I have received to go forward when Mercury goes direct on the 18th? Okay, am I making myself clear? If I'm not, write to me, info@thegoldenastrologer.com. Write to me. I'm on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer. Okay, I'm on Twitter at DevAstrology. I'm not on there a whole lot. But what I want you to do is take this initiative, take this information that you have received, and know that it is important to your journey that you are on this year. If you can't figure that out, then you need to sit down and journal about it. You need to figure out where you're frightened, where you're anxious, where you are holding back, and where your body, your physical body might be showing that to you, where your mental body might be showing that to you, where your emotional body might be showing that to you. What happened? What information did you get? What is not clear yet about the risk you need to take? It's scary, yes. All of us know it, all of us. So maybe you have to take a step forward and call someone because, you want to ask them out on a date, or, take a risk and change jobs, even though things are spooky scary in the job world. Maybe you have to pick up your bags and move because you didn't move when you thought you were supposed to, or you should move. Maybe you needed to move a few months ago and you're just like putting it off. Oh, maybe it's not the right time to move. And I'm like, you know what? It's the time to move. Okay? So, your task for the week, should you choose to accept it, is to sit down with all your thoughts and fears and anxieties and everything that has come forward in this last week, revealed by Mercury, Pluto, and Venus, Uranus, and take them, write them down and work with them during this Mercury retrograde to bring yourself to a place where you can take that step forward, because these 4 planets are coming and they're rolling on forward, and the universe is saying you've got to move forward. And if you don't, you're going to get caught up in more of the same mishigas that you had last week in these last days. Okay? And that's the story. Okay? So, ride that bull, baby. Ride that bull. Take the risk. Get thrown off. Get back on. And just don't get dragged around by the ankles. Thank you very much for listening. This is Deb McBride. This has been the Golden Astrologer Podcast, and I announced everywhere you can reach me: Instagram, the Golden Astrologer, my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and if you'd like to have a session with me, it's book online. And have a look at my Instagram. I'm going to start talking about this Reiki, and I will prepare a lovely after Mercury retrograde webinar for us all to enjoy and talk about it. So, talk about the Reiki. So, gratitude and love to all of you, and have a beautiful, beautiful week. Thank you for listening.